What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to go over a major Spider-Man 2 leak. Now, as always, and I want to say this very early on, with these kinds of videos, you take it with a grain of salt, okay? I'm going to read out where this came from. I'm going to read out, the entire summary of it. We'll break it down. We'll talk about, if we believe it's true or not, and obviously some cool things in between, okay? But you do have to take these things just so you know, or if some people say, like, oh, I don't want to be spoiled, there is a very high possibility a lot of this stuff is fake. There's also a possibility this stuff is true, okay? Now, I do want to quickly say a thank you to Marvel's Reporter, who's the one who gave this to me over on Twitter. And while I'm there, if you guys ever do see stuff, or you ever want me to talk about certain things, any of that good stuff, you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, PodcastNow15. It's one of the best ways of getting in contact with me. PodcastNow15, link for that is in the description below. Make sure while you guys are at it, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on here. I will actually have another Spider-Man 2 video, I think, later on this week. I try to shoot for at least one video a week, and this one came out. I said that I would do it this upcoming week, and so you guys get 2 videos this week, okay? So let's break this down. Now, the first problem, and I guess problem in terms of, like, you gotta, again, take it with a grain of salt, is it comes from 4chan, and now this is posted over on Reddit. So neither of which are all that reliable. Now, actually, a lot of websites that people give out leaks and stuff like that are not reliable. So they're kind of all even. 4chan and Reddit, I would say if it originates on Reddit, there is a 99% chance it's not real. If it originates on 4chan, slightly more possibility, okay? But not much. But, again, these are some really cool things that they talk about in this leak, and we're just going to read through it, and we'll discuss it after. Voiceover and motion capture hasn't begun yet due to the stuff around the world, so the dev team has decided to work more on playable sections for the time being. To my knowledge, Night Spider is just a comic name for Miles Morales. Now, this title is Spider-Man 2 development going well. 2-player characters codenamed Night Spider and Purple Bat / Shin Vigilante may be featured. And they say again, but the second character sounds very interesting. Apparently, they fight with the intent to kill with a gun and smoke as a weapon. They have rope tentacles too that follow them while they move. They're planning different enemy hit reaction animations and voice lines when being attacked by this character. Sounds a lot like Wraith. Found some loose emails circulating the web. Thankfully, personal information has been blacked out, but I won't show it for obvious reasons. Insomniac has reportedly wrapped up writing the script for their sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, which began early development around January 2019 and entered full production around Q2 2020. They are yet to begin motion capture and voice acting for the game due to blank complications, but development for the game's playable sections is going very well. Specifically, in addition to Peter and a character codenamed Night Spider, and again, a lot of people think that's just Miles, a third character is being made. Instructions from them cite a character that fights using unquestionably lethal methods and a gun, requiring different enemy hit react animations and shatter, code for deployable gas particles that don't obscure too much during combat, and 2 people who are required to work on the animations for rope tentacles that trace after their movement. Think long ninja masks. Their codename is Purple Bat and Shin Vigilante, both referring to the same character. Apparently, someone liked both, even though one is preferred and uses both. Of course, I don't know much about the comics, so I can't say, but Night Spider sounds pretty cool. Edit. Read the leak again. Someone else on 4chan claims to have read the same leak and dropped more info. Purple Bat is planned to be playable in certain sequences and side missions. Side quest dialogue and stuff are being redesigned in order to allow Peter and Miles to do the same mission. Now, that's a really big thing. We'll come back to talk about that. Basically, they want to go at it as if you have a third-party quest and you have Peter to do number 1, but Miles does number 2. Miles and all the other characters in the side quest will change their dialogue or routine to compensate within reason. There'll also be alternate cutscenes. Basically, you have Miles pick up where Peter left off and goes, Peter told me to check this place out. Or if it's the other way around, enemies start using anti-venom shock gear because Miles completed the first mission, but Peter does the second. And there'll be quips about how it's useless. The document said they only want to add cutscenes and to add or remove encounters, not make certain encounters easier or more difficult. So in the case of the Venom gear, it may not appear if Miles still does mission 2. The guy also mentioned Goblin Nation and Brotherhood of Mutants, but in my opinion, they sound more like examples in his analogy than actual leak. reiterating that this is what is planned. Not much has been set in motion yet. All right, so that's a lot, and we can say a couple things about it. Well, number one, is this leak real or not? Well, I am no genie. I am no, I don't know everything. I know I like to sometimes think I do, but I really don't. In all reality, it could very well be real. There are enough unique things in this leak that, like, obviously they just came up with that they're either going to be completely right or they will be completely wrong, right? So that's something that we just have to figure out when the game comes out. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer. One thing I do want to say is that I can kind of, I guess, talk to. I'm pretty confused as to the development times. That's something that's a little shaky to me. They started development January 2019. Now, Spider-Man came out in September of 2018, so that does make sense. Then they did the DLCs, so it does make sense that it would start up in January of 2019, but entered full production around Q2 2020. So it took them a year and 3-ish months to go from pre-production to full production. I don't think it takes that long. And that's really the only thing, again, on this kind of stuff, because the playable characters and all this other stuff, again, it's either going to be right or wrong. That production time doesn't sound right. And that it could just be me. Maybe I don't know enough about gaming, but I feel like I do. I feel like that doesn't exactly sound right. But that could, it is also possible, just to throw it out there, that could be wrong, that they're maybe lying about that or made that up, and then other things could be right. One final thing when we're talking about right versus wrong is, as I've always said, when you are a quote-unquote leaker and you throw 30 things against a wall and you get 2 of them right, it doesn't make you good. It doesn't make you a good leaker. It makes you a lucky guesser. That's exactly what I do. I talk about all these theories, all these possibilities. Of course, I'm going to get some right, and of course, they can boost your trust about me because you're like, oh, I remember Alex talked about this thing or that thing, or he warned us about a certain thing. You could say that, and I hope, honestly, you guys do. It makes me feel good. But no, I hope you guys do, but I'm not going around saying that I'm a I'm a world-class leaker, and you guys should trust everything I say about my predictions for stuff, right? Obviously, they're just my opinions, okay? So those are things to keep in mind. I do want to focus on 2 main parts. Number one is basically playing as 3 playable characters. Now, that means, well, what's interesting is they don't go down into 3 characters. Spider-Man, Miles Morales, but as Spider-Man, and then this third, codename character. Now, do we get to play as Peter? And I mean Peter as a person. Do we get to play as MJ again? Do we get to play as Miles as a character? And the reason I say that is because, do you count them as separate? Because if you think about it, in Spider-Man, we played as Peter, we played as Spider-Man, we played as Miles, the actual kid, and we played as MJ, okay? So we actually played as 4 characters in that game. So that's just the thing I want to throw out there, that it's like, again, like, this could very well be right, and maybe that's not consequential enough for them to even bring up in this leak, right? But technically, if you have Miles, Peter, MJ, and then 2 Spider-Men, because both of, Miles and Peter will be, in their suits, that's already 5. Then if you do another one, this third one, that's 6. So in reality, it's technically 6 playable characters if we're all on the same page there, right? So again, that's something that you can either say, well, they didn't feel like they needed to add that, or I'm overthinking it, or it's not important enough to put in there, right? Well, however you want to think about it, that's something I want to throw in there. Now, just actually funny enough, like this Reddit post, poster said, I'm not into, you guys know this by now, I'm not into comics either. I don't read them. I don't know much about characters that aren't kind of like the mainstream characters. So, your guess is probably better than mine as to what this third lethal character is. That does sound cool, by the way. And then obviously the biggest part, in my opinion, is the ability to play as the same mission as either character. Now, that goes more towards leaks we've talked about, where and not even, well, there were leaks. I think there were people that talked about, if we were going to be able to just kind of drop in, drop out as Miles or Peter, right? And then I've had videos kind of just discussing the pros and cons of that, right? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We've had those talks kind of separately. You'll have to go back and watch those videos. I'll probably make a new video maybe in the coming weeks, kind of explaining, my re-thoughts on it. But I think there are some really good things about it. I also think it can kind of get a little messy. What I will say, though, is this leak, if it's true, it is pretty cool. The idea that if you are playing as either of them, you need to have the experience still feel fresh. So if you're doing a quest, like a chain of missions, and you do the first one, and that's what they say, right? You do the first one with one, and you do the second one with the other one, the game should dynamically alter itself for that. And some game, and that's I think honestly a really amazing thing all on its own. Just without any, if the story sucks, if the gameplay is awful, just the idea that the game knows that you're doing the second part of something as the other character, and the game will adjust itself and they'll reference it and all that stuff. That alone is actually very good. It's very good in terms of immersion, right? So I really love that. Again, that is probably just throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks, right? I've talked about that on my own, and in my own videos. I want that. I'm not saying like a discredit to the leaker. I want that to be real. I absolutely want that to be real. I don't know if it will be, but if anything of this leak happens, I do want that. I had always assumed that there will be certain missions that you can only do as Peter or as Miles, and I do think maybe they're hinting at like side missions, because I think main story missions, they do need to be kind of tailored to one of them. Otherwise, you kind of lose the, not like believability, but you lose that kind of connection between the characters, because if there's a story and what's happening in it doesn't really connect to either of them, because it's so ambiguous, it's so big that it could kind of fit either of them, well, you kind of lose that connection between the character and the story. And that's a problem I've talked about with Gotham Knights. That could be a problem, and I would say the exact same thing here. If it's a side thing, if it's a side villain, if it's a side activity, yeah, it doesn't matter. And again, the game should probably recognize it, but it doesn't matter as much, and I would be completely fine with that. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think that this leak is true? Do you know who this lethal, individual is that we're going to be playing as? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. Again, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, podcastnow15 is my Twitter handle. If I ever see more leaks on my own, or if you guys ever see them, definitely send them to me. I'll shout you guys out. I'll make a video. We'll have a big blast of fun there. This was a lot of fun. Okay, so we're gonna have more videos this upcoming week. I am gonna have another Spider-Man video, and we'll try to go back to once a week unless something like this happens again. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.